Well, it's finally over, and as predicted,
I did come in before he did.
right, Andreen did defeat me, and she is so excited.
Andreen meets Andree McDonald in Jamaica in 2009, where the two quickly connect and fall in love. Andree, a U.S. Air Force major, brings Andreen to San Antonio, Texas, where they marry, have a daughter, and build a life together. Driven and ambitious, Andreen earns a finance degree and launches her own assisted living business, Starlight Homes, which quickly grows into a multi-million-dollar success. With her achievements, she even gives back to her home country through charitable work in Jamaica. It seems like they were living the American dream, until it all turned into a nightmare. Business and philanthropy aren't Andreen's only strengths. She's devoted to her health, too.
Yeah! Come on, Dream!
Despite her already busy schedule as an entrepreneur, mother, and wife, Andreen also has a strict gym regimen. According to her friends and family, she never misses a workout. That's why when she doesn't show up to the gym or work the morning of March 1st, 2019, people notice. Her employees are the first to question the sudden change in Andreen's schedule when she doesn't come into work. They call her Jim only to learn that she never showed up there either. They immediately alert Andreen's friends and family, hoping they know what's going on. Andreen McDonald's mom, Maureen, tries her daughter's cell phone. When she can't get a hold of her, she promptly makes a call to the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. Her daughter, she tells them, is missing. Word spreads fast among people close to Andreen. One of the first people notified is her husband, Andree McDonald, who had recently arrived at work at the Lackland Air Force Base after dropping their daughter off at school that morning. When Andree hears his wife is missing, he goes straight home to look for her. Then he quickly walks back out the front door. This time, he drives to a local hospital. Maybe his wife has been injured in an accident or needs treatment for one of those intense migraines she gets. Security footage shows Andree walking up to the reception desk at the hospital. He allegedly asks the employee if they had recently admitted anyone by the name McDonald. The employee confirms there is someone named McDonald at the hospital. She even gives him a room number. Then Andree does something strange. He leaves. Apparently, Andree rushes back home because he left his cell phone at the house. He tells investigators he needed to let Maureen know he'd found her daughter. When her family follows up, they quickly discover that Andreen is not at the hospital, and she still isn't answering her phone. They know she didn't run off. Andreen was too loving of a mother and too dedicated to her business to just up and leave her life behind. Andreen is missing.
I will call it what it is. It's a missing persons case under very suspicious circumstances. Friends of the missing person, Andreen Nicole McDonald, 29 years of age, reported to us that earlier that day, she did not follow up on her normal routine, namely going to the gym, which she did religiously, going to work. She didn't show up at either one of those places. They did encounter another person that does live in the house, Ms. McDonald's husband.
On the day Andreen is reported missing, law enforcement arrive at the McDonald residence to speak with her friends and family. What they find just outside the home is disturbing and very telling. Right in Andree and Andreen's yard, investigators see what appears to be a large burn mark in the gravel pathway. Nearby, they also find several items that look to have been burned. They have a few simple questions for Andree McDonald. What had been burned there, and why? And where does he think his wife disappeared to? But he isn't talking.
Deputies came to the location, spoke to Mr. McDonald as well, and we weren't able to get very much information. In fact, Mr. McDonald asserted his rights and retained the use of an attorney. What we can tell you about this is the circumstances surrounding it are somewhat troubling to us. There is literally no sign of her anywhere. What we do have in our possession is her purse, her wallet, her keys, what we believe is her cell phone. It's possible that's an older cell phone. Anything that typically you would expect somebody to take with them if they were going to be leaving.
Luckily, Andreen's friends and family fill investigators in on what had been happening in the days and weeks leading up to her disappearance. On February 16th, Andreen had thrown Andree a party for his 40th birthday. People close to the couple thought they seemed to be getting along, which was great news given their complicated history. Through their investigation, Bexar County detectives learned that not all of Andreen's trips to Jamaica revolved around philanthropy. Some of them were for love, but her husband didn't know that. Not until the summer of 2018, when Andreen came home from Jamaica with 2 new tattoos. One was the initial A tattooed on her hand, the other a very specific date. Andre became suspicious and decided to do some digging. In a social media search, he discovered that one of his wife's ex-boyfriends had the same tattoo. And just like that, the deep meaning behind Andreen's new ink is revealed. Did you know that your personal data is being harvested and sold online by data brokers? Anyone can buy your personal details. When this happens, you're at risk for a whole host of things like identity theft, becoming the target of phishing scams, potential stalking, and honestly, a ton more. And that's why I'm so happy to tell you about our sponsor, Delete Me. Delete Me helps keep your personal info private. I use Delete Me, and honestly, it's crazy what I found. They found 1,047 data brokers with my personal information and very quickly removed my data from 215 total listings. Doing that myself would have taken me a full 8-hour workday. And they're going to keep monitoring the sites for you to make sure your info doesn't end up back on there after the first removal. Using Delete Me has given me peace of mind about my family too, because if someone buys your data via a data broker, they can see info about your relatives too. So right now, you can get 20% off Delete Me and protect your personal data. Go to joindeleteme.com/investigates and use the promo code investigates at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/investigates, promo code investigates. While on a trip to Jamaica in 2017, Andreen had rekindled a decade-old romance with her teenage love. The A on her hand wasn't for Andre, but for her ex, Aubin. And the date? That was Aubin's birthday, the day, month, and year. Andre was angry, and understandably so. He allegedly threatened a divorce until Andreen promised to cut Aubin off, never to speak to him again, and never return to the island where she grew up. If she wanted her marriage to last, she would also need to cover up those tattoos. She agreed, and by Andre's 40th birthday, the power couple was back to normal. Or so it appeared. But a closer look at text messages exchanged between Andre and Andreen the evening before her disappearance tell investigators a different story. Apparently, Andre discovered that his wife had opened a new business without his knowledge, which caused a heated argument between them. He later told law enforcement that he left the house the night of February 28th and went to a gas station to cool off. Security footage from the gas station corroborated his story. While he was there, the couple continued to argue via text message. In one text, Andreen even threatened divorce. Andre told investigators that he returned home after the gas station and didn't see Andreen for the remainder of the night. He said he believed she was sleeping in a separate room. By the next morning, Andreen had vanished. The story of the alleged affair, along with the strange burn evidence found outside the McDonald home, leaves detectives with a chilling notion of what might have happened to Andreen McDonald. Right away, they begin working to execute a search warrant on the rest of the residents and the vehicles parked outside the home. In the meantime, they are determined not to let the U.S. airmen turn suspect out of their sight, especially because Andre is done talking to them. He's lawyered up, and detectives aren't getting any more details out of him.
Early this morning, surveillance was set up on the residence. They observed Andre McDonald, our investigators observed Andre McDonald get into one of the vehicles, depart the location. They established moving surveillance on that vehicle and followed it to a gun shop here in the city of San Antonio, where he was observed by an undercover officer that went into the store, observed buying a handgun and ammunition.
He hurried out of the store with only the ammunition. Deputies tail Andre as he leaves the store and meet him outside his home, where he is detained over concerns that he could be experiencing a mental health crisis. While Andre is in custody, the investigation pushes forward. The community bands together with law enforcement to search for Andreen.
We're going to be doing a search, of course, with volunteers. We have a small army of volunteers. I heard today about 200 folks, along with about 100 search and rescue and law enforcement folks. So this is a huge undertaking.
While the search for Andreen takes place around San Antonio, detectives also conduct another search on the McDonald residence. By now, the FBI is involved and assisting Bexar County with a forensic analysis of Andre and Andreen's vehicles. At the home, investigators discover garbage cans containing clothing presumably belonging to Andre. There is also blood on a light switch, clear evidence that a violent altercation had taken place. Lying on the floor of the back seat of one of his vehicles is another suspicious piece of evidence.
Once we made entry to the house, we found some things that really quite disturbing, pretty indicative of what I believe that we're going to find. And the evidence consisted of a shovel, an axe, some heavy-duty trash bags, some work gloves, and 2 5-gallon containers of gasoline, and a burn pit, portable burn pit, burn barrel. It led us to believe that these were implements that were going to be used to dispose of a body, quite obviously to us, which really tends to drive home the point to us that we believe that Andreen McDonald is no longer living.
Inside the McDonald home, investigators find a torn receipt showing it's no coincidence Andre is in possession of those items. He had purchased them all together, just after 11 a.m. on March 2nd, the day after his wife was reported missing. And if that wasn't enough, there was also this. More security footage proving that it was Andre who had purchased the items at a nearby hardware store. If detectives are right, Andreen McDonald was planning to dispose of his wife's body all for under $50. Because the receipt has been ripped into pieces, investigators believe McDonald had attempted to destroy his paper trail. Bexar County has all they need to obtain an arrest warrant. Andreen McDonald is charged with 1 count of tampering with evidence and booked at the Bexar County Jail on March 3, 2019.
So we're hoping that for the time being, he's either going to be here or confined to his residence if in the event that he does make bond, which will allow us to keep investigating.
Andre remains in jail until April, when he's released on bond. In the months to come, search efforts in San Antonio continue, as does everyday life for those close to Andreen. Her friends and family continue sharing her story, going to work, and caring for her young daughter. Her successful business, Starlight Homes, continues to operate, though nothing feels the same. As the days drag on, so does the investigation. Things might have slowed down, but the case is still far from cold. With Andre walking free, police are even more determined to find Andreen, dead or alive. In early April, investigators get a call that human remains have been located off of Highway 211, approximately 50 minutes from the McDonald residence.
This afternoon, about 3 o'clock, we received a call that there had been a hiker out in this area, walking through the woods, through a wooded area, and happened upon what he believed to be human remains. He called for deputies to arrive. Deputies on scene, once they arrived on scene, looked at the remains and determined that they were most likely human remains based upon appearance. Heavily burned human remains.
The skeletal remains are found in a wooded area and consist of a human skull and several other bones. The fact that the remains were heavily burned leads investigators to wonder if it could be Andreen who the hiker stumbled upon.
The medical examiner is on scene right now. They will be taking possession of the remains. We will be keeping possession of this crime scene throughout the night, and then tomorrow morning, bright and early, we will resume the crime scene search of the area, utilizing the FBI's CSI capabilities, and then of course the rest of PCSO CSI.
By the following day, the medical examiner's office reports that there is a major height discrepancy between the burned remains and Andreen. Andreen was tall, but the bones found off Highway 211 belonged to a woman closer to 5'2". The medical examiner is confident that the skeletal remains do not belong to Andreen McDonald. It's a sigh of relief for one San Antonio family, and one of despair for another.
We now have another family that we need to try to identify this other victim and try to bring closure to another family who has yet to be identified.
After the false alarm surrounding the burned skeletal remains, the case loses steam. Detectives have another case to break, and still no body in Andreen's case. It's not until July 2019, about 5 months after Andreen was last seen, when detectives receive another phone call that puts the case back in motion. A man looking for cow bones on Speck Road, about 6 miles north of the McDonald residence, stumbled upon some bones in the brush off the side of the road, but they didn't look like animal bones to him. Investigators secure the scene, just like they had done a few months before, but this time, the autopsy results aren't so surprising. The medical examiner concludes that the remains belong to 29-year-old Andreen McDonald. Andreen's cause of death is determined to be homicidal violence, including blunt force trauma. Proud to be bringing the case to a close, Sheriff Salazar wastes no time in telling the public who is charged with killing the millionaire mom for whom so many Texans spent months searching.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. It feels good in a certain sense to say it, that the search for Andreen McDonald is officially over. We found her. Here a few minutes ago, we took Andreen McDonald into custody for the offense of murder. He's been placed under arrest and is now, as we speak, at CID, speaking to deputies.
4 years later, in 2023, Andreen stands trial. His plan is to plead not guilty, claiming self-defense. And it might have been believable. After all, Andreen never missed a day at the gym. And she was strong. She could deadlift upward of 300 pounds. But Andreen was strong too. He'd undergone intense training as part of the U.S. military, and when the couple had their fight at the end of February, he was angry. Despite his plea of not guilty, the mountain of evidence against him made many people confident that Andreen would be found guilty. Then, 3 days before the trial was set to begin, Andreen McDonald drops a bomb on Andreen's family and the prosecution. He has a new story to tell. Andreen allegedly told his mother-in-law, Maureen, and his sister-in-law, Cindy, that the argument he and Andreen had the night of February 28th turned physical. According to Andreen, he used his foot to get Andreen off of him, stomping her. He admitted to killing his wife. But at trial, he claims it wasn't murder. Experts on the stand tend to disagree with him. They deny the plausibility that stomping Andreen could have caused the fatal injuries to her skull. Multiple forensic experts believe Andreen was bludgeoned to death with a blunt object. One forensic scientist with the Bexar County Crime Lab also notes that the hammer inside the McDonald's home had Andreen's blood on it. When Andreen takes the stand on trial day 6, he has a ready explanation for that.
The plan then was to just hit this body, the wife of your child, with a hammer. That was part of your plan.
My plan was to hit the person that basically, in my opinion, caused this whole circumstance. And I was pretty upset with that person at that time.
You felt it was her fault, right?
It's absolutely her fault.
Other disturbing evidence comes out at trial, like the way Andreen dumped Andreen's body in the brush. She was stripped of her clothing, burned, and abandoned.
You go to Spec Road and you locate where you dumped her body. She's still naked?
I'm pretty sure she was.
You were there, sir. Was she still naked?
Yes, sir, she was.
What did you do with the gasoline?
I poured it on her and then I used the lighter and set it on fire.
Where on her body?
It was on top of her body.
Where on her body?
It was all over her. Just throw the gas all over it and lit it.
How did you light it?
I used the lighter with a piece of paper and then threw it on her.
After Andreen's chilling testimony, the jury deliberates for 13 hours. Occasionally, a long deliberation period can be a sign of a hung jury. But not this time. The jurors come back with a guilty verdict, but not for murder. Andreen McDonald is found guilty of the lesser crime of manslaughter in the death of his 29-year-old wife, Andreen McDonald. He is sentenced to the maximum possible sentence for manslaughter in Texas, 20 years. Including time served, that left Andreen McDonald eligible for parole after just 7.5 years. Following the verdict, Sheriff Salazar addresses the public once again regarding Andreen's case.
Although ultimately it's no secret that the verdict is not what we had hoped for, and at the risk of speaking for the family, I do say so. I would venture to say it wasn't what they had hoped for. We obviously respect the jury's decision. We certainly respect the court's actions and decision. So we will live with the result of today.
Also forced to live with the results of the court's decision is Andreen's daughter, who was 7 years old at the time of the trial. At Andreen's sentencing, she shares a victim impact statement.
This letter was written by Elena to Andreen McDonald. You killed my mother. You took away my life. And you broke my heart. And you hurt my feelings.
Andreen McDonald will be eligible for parole in 2030.